Ing. Yeah. Bird. Yeah. 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 Mockingbird. Oh,
Okay.
man. Yeah. We recording though.
Yeah, we recording.
The new.
Wait, hold on. Don't.
I stole your thing.
I start this shit. Ooh. Ooh. Welcome back, everybody.
They ain't ready.
It's Friday.
Oh, it's Friday.
And it's episode 27 of the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast?
Question mark?
Yeah. Remember when I said on Wednesday we went on that big tangent about big things in the future?
Well,
it starts today.
we just have something to do with these every 1 month periods. We go through some sort of big news.
Yeah. As of when this is being released, we're a day away from hitting 2 months.
Yeah.
So congrats, Dom.
Congrats, Noah.
Thank you. But yeah, new logo. Let us know what you think of the new logo. We think that shit is fire.
We kind of dig the comic book feel.
Yeah, that wasn't intentional either.
Yeah, it wasn't. We originally just meant to rebrand the name to MMA Podcast, and then we just went down a loophole.
Yeah, it ended up... what started as being about 15 minutes turned into an hour and a half.
Yeah, we really just...
At least. It's been about 2 hours now.
Yeah.
But
ain't she purty?
Ain't she? She's a looker, I'll tell you. But yeah, just want to be clear. We're still going to be giving you guys the same content.
Yes.
Obviously, UFC is the premier MMA brand.
Right.
So therefore, the majority of our content will be about UFC. That is what we usually watch.
Yes.
But this allows us to branch out.
Yes.
There's some examples that
will be mentioned today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like I can probably just talk like basically with our special episodes. One idea I've been wanting to do for a while is like a throwback reviews of pay-per-views. And I don't want it to just be going back and watching old UFC cards. It'll include that for sure.
Right.
But UFC Fight Pass, the streaming service for the UFC, has a library filled with fights from
everywhere,
going back decades. So I'm talking like old Pride cards, Strike Force, WEC, along with the UFC. And hell, if we eventually make our way down that Bellator rabbit hole, there's no reason we can't go back and do that as well. That's just one of the many examples of branching out like this. But it also allows us examples like if the UFC isn't holding a card on a certain weekend. Luckily for us, they've just
basically booked to the end of the year.
But eventually there will be a gap week here or there.
Yeah.
And we can always fill those Friday episodes not just talking about the news, but we can also talk about Bellator cards, ONE FC cards, Rising cards, Invicta.
The sky is the limit for the podcast now. And not only just covering other events, it allows us to learn more because we love the sport and we get to learn more, branch out, learn about new guys that could make their way to the UFC, guys and girls.
We are admittedly still very UFC centered in our viewing and what we are knowledgeable about.
And like you mentioned, it's just hard. Some of them, it's hard.
I mean, I mentioned it being a money thing, but I think even more than that, it's a time thing. Yeah,
and like one championship, for example, is on the other side of the world. So when they start their fight cards, we're in bed. And, it's hard, but we're trying.
Yeah, and I think...
I'm excited, man.
Yeah, so I don't think you guys are going to notice too much difference in how we do things. It's still going to be the same format.
Right.
This just allows us to include more in it. Instead of just saying UFC podcast and more, we decided to kind of cut that out because ultimately we want this to be the podcast.
Yeah, this is the more part.
Yeah,
adding, you know what I mean?
So we just decided to scrap the and more and just make it include everything, the MMA podcast. But with that being said, it's Friday, so that means that we are breaking down this Saturday's UFC Fight Night, #UFC Fight Island 5.
Yes.
Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen.
Big one.
In the bantamweight division. Huge implications there for potential title fights down the road.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll get into that card later. But we start with everyone's favorite segment of the week, the news. The news. We have a lot of news to cover.
Yeah, buckle in.
Yeah, buckle up.
Sit down, grab a beer, grab some food. It's gonna be a little long one.
Yeah. And we're actually going to start with a couple of stories here from different promotions. Already.
MMA podcast, you say?
So, Corey Anderson, who we have talked about before because he just recently got released from his contract with the UFC.
Right.
That was like a mutual thing. And then he goes immediately and signs with Bellator. He was a top light heavyweight contender at the UFC, so it was a big signing for them. He got his first fight announcement.
He did.
He's going to be fighting Melvin Manhoef. Now, I just want to...
Welcome to Bellator.
Melvin Manhoef has never fought in the UFC. However, he's 32-14 and 1 with 2 no contests. This guy's been fighting forever. Literally, his first professional fight was in 1995.
I wasn't born yet.
I wasn't either.
Huh.
But he has fought everywhere. He's fought, obviously, Bellator for the last 6 years, but before that, he even had a couple fights at 1. He fought in Strikeforce. He's fought in Dream. He's fought in K1. That's his background. He's a kickboxing background.
Shout out Uberine.
Yep. He's fought in Heroes, Cage Rage.
Look at that big green streak right there.
I mean, look, he's 43 years old. 44. Sorry. He turned 44 in May. This guy is definitely not in his prime. But when you have someone like Corey Anderson, who has shown to be somewhat susceptible as far as his chin is concerned. When you put him up against a striker like Manhoef, I don't care how old he is. Like, it would be the same way if like they paired him up with like Corey Anderson with like Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
It kind of feels similar in that way.
Yeah.
Where you would still be like, okay, we get it, he's past his prime, and Corey Anderson will likely be favored a decent amount in this fight. But it only takes one.
Yeah.
And he's going up against a very accomplished kickboxing champion. A guy who, out of his 32 wins, 29 of them by knockout.
29 out of 32.
This man has 0 submission wins. He ain't taking shit to the ground. Which is ultimately going to be Corey's...
strong suit.
That's going to be Corey's, I would say, route.
Yeah.
Although, hey, Corey surprised us with his hands before, Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
So did you have any thoughts on your end on this?
I mean, best of luck to Corey. That's a heck of a challenge, but I think it might... I don't really know rankings-wise how Bellator looks with that division, but they have a newly crowned light heavyweight champ after Ryan Bader lost. So maybe this is Corey's way to get in there to a title shot. I mean,
a lot of people thought he might be gifted, or I shouldn't say gifted, but given a title shot immediately.
I'm kind of glad they did.
I think it's better that they try to, in a way, make him earn it still.
Yeah.
And this is by no means going to be a cake. Well, I mean, it could be a cakewalk, but on paper, Melvin presents a big threat.
He's on a 2-fight win streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's not just been losing all the time. He's still competitive. He hasn't fought in about a year, but you know, on
his side of things, if he were to beat a guy like Corey Anderson at 44 years old, a guy that was right on the cusp of a UFC title shot, hey, maybe it's his turn for a title shot. You know?
And admittedly, like, we are as casual as it gets to Bellator, but the fact that we're excited about this fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that says something to what they're doing over there.
They are doing big things. I'll give them credit where it's due.
So we'll obviously talk about that fight when it happens, but excited for it, for sure. I believe it's happening in November as well. I don't have the exact date, but I believe it is November when that fight will be taking place. So coming up soon.
Right.
And now we move to a different promotion.
Yes. Another one. MMA podcast, you say.
This is probably, we just talked about what is this, I would say, in America, the second biggest MMA promotion. This is what I would say is number 3.
Yeah.
And that's One Fighting Championship.
Yeah, and it's not American-based.
Nope, out of Singapore, over in Asia. They are huge over there.
Yes.
Well, and they have big former UFC personalities at the head of their operations.
That's true.
Rich Franklin and Misha Tate hold very large roles in that company.
Shout out our boy Rich, Ohio boy.
Shout out Rich.
Former best in the world at one point.
So, since this pandemic has started, ONE FC has been putting on fights. However, from everything I've heard, they've been not the strongest of cards. It's been kind of just a means to an end.
Right.
But basically, they're coming in a big way here.
This is
unprecedented.
This might be unheard of. This might be the first time this has ever happened.
They have announced that they are holding an event on October 30th called ONE: Inside the Matrix. What a name.
That's sick, yeah.
But even better than that, there's 4 title fights on this card.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 world championship fights.
Yeah, it's
that's insane.
Yeah, it's that's definitely a huge deal for them. And like, admittedly, again, we are very casual with ONE FC, but they're not just, this isn't like 4 title fights where it's like, okay, none of these guys are like big deals or anything.
I mean, they're at the top
this
of
main
the game.
event. Look, the biggest star Bellator has to offer, as far as like their homegrown talent, is Aung San.
Yeah.
He is the dominant light heavyweight world champion. And he's been a guy that people have been calling for, wanting him to come to the UFC so bad for years. He just recently, in October 2019, he beat Brandon Vera via second-round knockout. Vera was trying to become champ.
Yeah. Former UFC title contender.
Yeah, he was. So he's going to be defending the middleweight title against Rainier, the Dutch Knight de Ridder.
The Dutch Knight.
Our co-main event is going to be... Sorry, I lost it here.
Unbelievable. Unacceptable. Now we got to switch back to the UFC part.
He is the ONE lightweight world champion. Christian the Warrior Lee is going to be defending against the top-ranked contender, Yuri Lapicius, I believe is how you would... Lapicius, I believe.
We've got a lot of names to go through
Yeah,
today.
man. I think UFC's hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
All right. Third title fight, the ONE featherweight world champion, Martin the Situation Win, is going up against number 3 ranked contender Thon Lee. I just love that nickname. The Situation.
The Situation.
That's pretty sick.
And the 4th title fight of the... 4 title fights!
Yeah.
The UFC, would they ever? We've seen 3. But goodness,
3 was a huge deal for when they went back to New York. I can't imagine they would. Maybe. I don't want to say. Maybe UFC 300? You never know.
I guess I'll have to tune into the podcast to find out.
Yeah. But then the ONE women's strawweight world title, the Panda, Xiangjing Nan. Don't know if I said that correctly.
I think it was good.
Going up against the number 1 ranked contender, Tiffany No Chill Teo. So, regardless of how little we know about the majority of these fighters, 4 title fights on one card.
That's awesome.
And I think it's a great way for them to come back, like, in a big way.
This is their first big event back, and hello. They'll get a lot of viewers.
I would say so. I mean, I get, like, the time difference is pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, the way you have to look at it, if you don't really understand how that time zone works, which I would understand if you didn't, is that, when we watch a UFC main card, it usually starts at what? 9 p.m., 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
For them, where it would be starting for us is at about 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, obviously...
And, of course, vice versa. So.
It's a big time difference, So I understand that a lot of American viewers, it might be hard to wake up and watch that and be like mentally into it like you would if you were watching it, if you had all day to prepare and everything. But it's a big deal for them. For a company that I love to see thrive because they seem to be doing really good things over there.
Right.
They obviously, like every company has been affected by COVID, but they were still putting on fights. But now it's like they get to come back in a big way. Because everybody was like, okay, it's cool you're having fights, but a little underwhelming. Just not a lot of big names, not a lot of title fights, not a lot of big contenders. Now you come out with 4. Say no more. So it should be huge for them.
Oh, yeah,
you agree?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But yeah, they also have a card to. Actually, I'll go ahead and say this. They have a card on tomorrow. You can watch that on Bleacher Report Live.
The day, October 9th. So the day you're actually hearing this is when it is.
Yeah, that's on Bleacher Report Live at 8:30 in the morning.
8:30 in the morning.
Or you can watch it on One's YouTube channel. They do a full event stream on their YouTube channel. I think that's awesome. I love that. It's also the first 2 bouts will be streamed on their Facebook and Twitter pages. So check out that event. I love, like, the fights I've seen. I love just everything about One. And I think that I'm more excited to watch more of their fights than even Bellator, I would say.
Yeah.
So check that out if you guys get a chance, whether it's live or not. Doesn't really matter. But now we're going to get back into the UFC, the stuff we really know.
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One more thing, real quick. This is just a real big deal for mixed martial arts as a whole. This weekend, the first ever MMA event to be held in Paris, France, or in France in general as a country, is happening. So this one is the Mixed Martial Arts Grand Prix, which is actually happening the day we're recording this. It's October 8th. So, and again, for them, it's already October 9th in France when this is happening. And then Bellator is having their first ever event in Paris, France, and that's this weekend, Saturday, October 10th. They've got Czech Congo fighting on that, MVP's fighting, Michael Venom Page, which is like that's basically Bellator's version of like an Israel Adesanya. You know what I mean? So that's just big from a global standpoint that mixed martial arts is finally making its way to France for the first time ever. A very big deal. Again, it's the Mixed Martial Arts Grand Prix happening at the day we're recording this on October 8th. And then Bellator is having their event there on October 10th. So I had to point that out.
Yeah,
again,
no,
man,
awesome.
It's worldwide. And that's the best part about
this. A global
this.
phenomenon.
Yes, 100%.
That's what we love about it. Now we're going to move on to the UFC.
We're into the UFC.
You know, it's ultimately it's the stuff that we know the most about.
Right.
So we start with November 7th. A fight has been added to this card. Jeremy Stephens.
Ooh.
Who the fuck is that guy? I'll tell you. This guy is a fucking killer.
Yes, he is.
I know he got clowned by McGregor. And that will be forever like the biggest thing he's known for.
Yeah.
But please do not disrespect this man's name anymore. He is an absolute legend. I just had to get this out of the way because I love Jeremy Stephens.
Oh, yeah.
He's going up against a rising contender.
Yeah, he's got a tough one.
In Arnold Allen.
Very tough fight.
So, Dom, give your thoughts to the people about this matchup and what this means for both guys, really.
So we've got Jeremy Stephens is ranked 9th currently. Arnold Allen is right above him at number 8. Arnold Allen is 16-1 on a 7-fight win streak in the UFC. Last 3 coming against Jordan Rinaldi, Gilbert Melendez, and Nick Lentz. Only 1 loss in his career ever. This is an iffy matchup for Jeremy Stephens, but Jeremy Stephens loves welcoming that challenge. Well, if we're talking a veteran of the UFC, say no more than Jeremy Stephens. Now, unfortunately, he has to hold the record for the most losses in UFC history, but those don't come without wins. This man is an absolute savage, willing to put it all out on the line every time he walks into that octagon. Big task for Arnold Allen, but if he can get this win, he's now a namesake in that division, making his way to that top 5.
Jeremy Stephens is never not, like, all of his losses are to guys that were top contenders at the time or rising contenders. Especially, like, even early on in his career, he was fighting guys like Melvin Guillard, Anthony Pettis, Donald Cerrone, Cub Swanson. Like, you know, these are guys that have been in the UFC for almost like a decade.
Yeah.
And a lot of those have fought for titles, won titles. Like, you don't just have that, even though you're losing those guys. Like,
exactly.
That shows how much the UFC knows that he'll bring out of the guy he's fighting, not just what he'll bring to the table, but what he'll bring out of the other guy, because he's going to bring it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going to bring it.
You know, the Calvin Kattar fight, which was the last time we saw him at UFC 249, that was pretty tough for him. Mm-hmm. He got split open.
Kattar's on a tear right now.
Oh, Kattar's great. That's another example.
Loss where you're saying.
But I even think back to, I forget what card it was. I want to say, I'm not going to know it off the top of my head. He fought Zabit just a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he put on a good showing against Zabit, I thought. Mm-hmm. Like, considering how Zabit has looked, like, he put on a very good showing against him. And there's no reason why I can't see something similar here.
I completely agree.
I mean, Arnold Allen is a tough matchup for anybody, including Stevens, but don't count out Jeremy, man. He still has something left, I think.
He's got gas left in the tank.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring that fight.
I love the matchup. I think this is going to be fireworks.
Oh, yeah. And that's when? November 7th fight night?
November 7th.
That's your boy, Glover and Tiago. Yeah. That's that card.
Yeah, so that card's starting to look real nice, isn't it? Then we move on to a guy we talk about all the time. The biggest contender,
the hottest
prospect in the UFC. Khamzat Chimaev.
Oh, man. He's calling out everybody.
But, yes. However, he's not the one that's making the headline here.
Right.
We've had a lot of people that have said either, I'm not going to fight you yet because it's not worth it.
Right.
Basically. Or have said, I want that fight. But our most recent example, and one that I feel is very realistic, is Cowboy Oliveira.
The other cowboy.
So, Dom, tell the people kind of what led up to, like, what Oliveira said and ultimately where we go from here.
Oliveira essentially is saying, hey, man, you're saying everybody's ducking you and doesn't want to fight you, but here I am. You know, I'm calling you out right here on Twitter.
He said he's ready for a fight right now.
And Khamzat is literally just basically roasting everybody in the welterweight and middleweight divisions, saying, I'm calling out top 5s, top 10s. Nobody here wants to fight me. I'm ready to fight whenever, wherever. Tell me when, Dana. Just name the opponent. He basically doesn't even care who it is at this point. His manager, Ali Abdelaziz, came out and said they've had 3 guys turn down fights for 3 different reasons against Khamzat. I personally would prefer him to fight a Neil Magny, to be honest. But I think being able to get and again, he's not guaranteed to win, right?
Right.
But to beat a guy, if he were to come in and beat a guy like Cowboy Oliveira, all he's doing is just making his star even brighter than what it already is. So
yeah, I mean, you can't put it any better than that. Cowboy Oliveira is game. That guy's fought, again, a guy who's been around for a while.
Long time.
He's fought the who's who as well. He's even, and the thing is, he's already headlined a fight night before. He headlined against Cowboy Cerrone.
It was Cowboy versus Cowboy.
Yeah,
yep.
So,
I remember the poster.
It wouldn't be out of left field for him to be put in this position as a headliner on a fight.
And people love watching him fight. He's always exciting.
He just fought recently. I believe that was the Darren Till, Robert Whittaker card. I believe. I don't know that for sure. Someone will have to fact check me on that. But he did just fight recently. Looked good.
Yeah.
Still looking good, man. I mean, that guy's been through some shit. You ever read into his backstory? Bro. This man... I don't want to mess this up, but apparently on, like, Christmas or Christmas Eve, this man had a grenade thrown at him.
You serious?
Oh, yeah. Literal grenade.
Just landed at his feet?
I mean, you know, I prefer not to ask questions.
Okay, fair enough.
But that dude, he ain't just a fighter in the cage, man.
He's a savage.
That dude comes from some shit.
Yeah, he's as game as they come.
Yeah, kind of a weird little point there about the grenade, but he's okay.
Yeah, clearly. He's ready to fight Khamzat.
He's ready to fight Khamzat, who I don't know which one I would prefer, Khamzat or the grenade. So we'll see what happens there.
That's a good point.
We move on from there to Leon Edwards been making headlines.
Oh, this is just high school drama at this point.
So Leon Edwards, for a while, especially the last couple weeks, has really been garnering a lot of sympathy from the MMA community. You know, he's the number 3 ranked contender at welterweight. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't fought in over a year. He was scheduled to fight Tyron Woodley at the end of March, I believe, or early April. That fight card got scrapped, obviously, because of COVID. That fight didn't get rebooked. Instead, Tyron fought Gilbert Burns, and then Tyron fought Colby Covington. But a lot of that was due to just international travel bans that have been going on and whatnot. So he's been struggling to get a fight. Well, now there's been some, he's been trying to call out guys like Masvidal, Colby Covington. They just don't
Gilbert Burns even.
Yeah, they just don't seem to really be interested. Mostly it's just because he's probably he's the least well-known guy in that top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
And right now he's really the only one without a clear path. Like, it seems like Usman and
even though it should be the clearest path, 8 wins in a row, unbeaten in 4 years, but yet he's so far from a title shot.
It's going to be Usman Burns and likely Masvidal Covington.
Yeah, and the winner of Masvidal Covington will probably get the next title shot.
So he's kind of in this rut. He's stuck. He's a man with no home, or whatever you want to call it. But he has had one guy that's been literally calling him out
in the nicest of ways,
and that's the NMF.
The NMF. Not the BMF.
The nicest motherfucker.
Yes.
Wonderboy Thompson.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
We love some Wonderboy.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Called him out in the nicest of ways. Leon basically said, "Go fuck yourself."
Respectfully.
Yeah.
He literally said that. Shout out to Stephen.
So I do just want to finish my point by saying that he had a lot of support, a lot of sympathy. And now it seems like everybody's kind of turning on him again.
On Leon.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Because Stephen Thompson is ranked 6th
in
the division. Or
might even be 5th. I think he's 5th, yeah.
He's a top 5 guy.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. Like, people are like, okay, we get it. Like, he's below you.
But it's the biggest fight you can have right now.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to fight or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's a guy that's fought in 2 title fights against Tyron Woodley. So he's got the name value to where you
and one of them was a draw.
Yeah. So if you beat Stephen Thompson, I don't see how that hurts. I get that there's a risk you might lose, but you're going to have that risk fighting any of these guys at the top 5.
Being as inactive as he has been, this would arguably be the biggest win for him. Like, I know he's got wins over, guys like RDA, but having a win against Thompson, putting your name back in there at a time where the welterweight division's really the biggest it's been in a while right now, I think he needs to take the fight. Will he? It doesn't seem like it. And this is a guy, Stephen Thompson was offered the fight against Khamzat Chimaev, and Thompson saying, why would I take that risk? Why would I fight an unranked guy when I'm ranked 5th? I want Leon Edwards. I want you. Number 3, Leon Edwards. Leon, if I'm on my way out, I should be an easy stepping stone for you to get to the title. Please, let's fight. In the nicest way possible. That's how he called out Leon Edwards. So it's just like, there's just a lot of drama in the welterweight division right now.
Yeah, and I can tell that Thompson feels a little uncomfortable by the being involved in it.
Yeah.
But it's like he wants a fight.
Yeah.
This fight makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
For both guys.
Yes.
I get it. It does more for Thompson, I guess, because he's below Edwards. But this is always where this is the side of me that hates rankings.
Right.
Because then all the fighters want to focus his rankings. They just want to be like, oh, well, I'm ranked ahead of you. So it's like, dude, he's one of the best guys in the division.
One of the biggest names.
Fight him.
Yeah.
If you want to fight. It's not fighting a guy like Khamzat, which I understand him not wanting to do, a guy who's not ranked.
Yeah.
And if you beat him, the narrative's going to be, well, Khamzat just isn't that good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that Leon Edwards is that good.
Yeah, exactly.
This matchup...
It would be. Leon Edwards is that good if he beats Stephen Thompson.
It would be the most convincing win of his career.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, man. I mean, he beat RDA. Always an impressive win.
Yeah.
But, and he beat Cowboy Cerrone.
Right.
He also beat what's that one guy's name? I'm blanking on his Gunnar Nelson.
Yep.
He beat Gunnar Nelson, but that was by split decision. Now I love Gunnar Nelson, but if you're the number 3 guy in the division, and you had a split decision a year and a half ago,
yeah,
it brings up questions, and it's a lot of decisions. He's been on a lot of fight nights, obviously. I mean, he's been headlining a couple of fight nights, but he has to understand where he's at. He doesn't really have the power in this situation.
Yeah.
And if it's not Wonder Boy, who's it going to be? I just don't see it being any other way.
He just keeps waiting, I guess.
I just don't see any other path. And the longer he waits, I think the worse it's going to get.
Yeah, Leon hasn't fought since July of 2019. Stephen Thompson coming off that win against Vicente Luque. He hasn't fought since November of 2019.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's just cut the bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's fight.
Let's do it.
But I do love the matchup if it happens.
It's a great fight, yeah.
And I'm actually optimistic that it will happen. Could be wrong.
I hope.
But Leon's got to eventually come to his senses on this. I just don't think
you can only hold out.
Masvidal and Covington are not going to take that fight with him. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No.
But I guess we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah.
And
that was just drama.
If this fight gets announced or when these two guys do get fights, obviously we'll talk about it more. But for now, no actual fight announcement, just some bullshit.
Yeah.
We move on to something that's very concerning.
No, I don't like this. This.
So, I believe this was after Cody Garbrandt got announced off 255, or was it when?
Yeah, because it was after that one because Aljo was ready to step in. Basically.
So Aljo, after Cody Garbrandt was originally scheduled we talked about this, to headline UFC 255. He was going down in weight to try to beat the flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo. Cody tore his bicep.
Yep, bicep.
So he's out. In steps Alex Perez, who's a very unknown guy in that division. So Aljamain goes, "Oh, there's a spot open." So he goes, "Hey, Petr Yan, who's the bantamweight champion." He goes, "How about we get it on that date?"
Yeah.
And Petr Yan's like, "Look, man, it's not me you have to worry about."
Yeah, he's basically like, "I'm down, but
I don't
UFC
think
ain't."
I don't think he's like he's like, "I'm not the one who ain't signing."
Yeah, I think he said the UFC might have other plans from what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah.
I read that and I said, "Huh?"
Somehow that was the most terrifying response. Like if he would have responded with some like, "I'll kill you," or I will, even if it was like, "I'll take you into the deepest waters and drown you," like that's badass. That's scary. But him just saying, "Maybe you should be a little scared because I think the UFC might have other plans." Like, that's actually kind of terrifying.
Noah, tell me they're not giving a title shot to Frankie Edgar. Tell me right now. They're not.
Actually, that's not who I thought it was going to be.
I mean, are you thinking winner of our preview card? No?
No.
Who?
There's a gentleman who will be back in January.
Oh, my word.
TJ Dillashaw.
You just threw me for a loopity-loop. Right there.
It would make sense, wouldn't it?
No,
why are they holding off? TJ Dillashaw, for those of you that don't know, he's probably the second best bantamweight of all time in the UFC, behind Dominic Cruz. He's been a multiple-time champion. He's knocked out Cody Garbrandt twice. He tried to go down to flyweight like Cody was planning to do. The first ever card on ESPN.
Yep.
He was headlining against Henry Cejudo, who had just won the flyweight title from Demetrius Johnson, who's one of the best ever. It was a big fight. TJ was going down in weight. He got knocked out in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Got dropped like 3 times. I know there's a lot of debate about that stoppage.
It was just going to keep happening.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, coming off that fight, there was a lot of talks of like a rematch, maybe at bantamweight or just another rematch at flyweight. But we didn't have to worry about any of that because
no.
TJ
took care of that for himself.
He popped for EPO, which is a steroid, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the same thing that
Lance
Armstrong tested positive for comparison's sake.
Yeah.
So he's given a 2-year suspension. But it's a 2-year suspension from
the time of the fight.
Yeah.
And that fight,
first week of January, I believe.
Of 2019.
Yes.
And now, we're approaching January 2021.
So.
Oh, I don't like that.
Does that seem plausible to you?
Yeah, it does, now that you say it. I did not even think about that.
When you said Frankie Edgar, I had heard that, but I really don't think that that's going to happen.
The only other thing I thought of was the winner of Moraes and Sandhagen, but I don't even like that because if Sandhagen were to beat Moraes...
Because I just kept thinking, like, okay, Aljo is a very marketable guy.
Yeah.
He's got the flash, he's got the personality... he's got the resume to back it up. He's got everything. He's a good talker.
Great cornerman, great coach.
Yeah, he's got a great camp behind him. Like, I was like, what is it that's stopping UFC from committing? To me, Frankie Edgar is not that at this point. And I don't think Moraes or Sandhagen are. Obviously not Sandhagen, but Moraes even though he knocked out Aljo a long time ago.
Yeah.
To me, it's TJ Dillashaw.
Wow.
I could be wrong.
But
we're approaching... I mean, likely if this fight got booked, I mean, sure, it could take a spot on 255 or 256, but it'd likely be for the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
That's when TJ comes back.
Yeah, TJ can fight in January.
Yeah.
So he could start training for a fight right now. Just because he's not eligible to fight, he can train for a fight and still fight in January 21. Oh, Noah.
Yeah. Did I...
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Didn't cross my mind.
Yeah, it's I don't like it. Aljo versus Jan is the fight. But you know, I don't really like, is TJ really that much, like, is he really going to do that much for pay-per-view buys that
I don't think people like him now.
Well, I mean, maybe they look at it like people are going to tune in to see him lose. There is the thing, Colby Covington has that effect, you know.
I mean, I guess.
I don't know. I don't like it. It feels very scummy to me.
Aljamain deserves it so bad.
Aljamain deserves it. He's earned it. And, like, if it wasn't him, like, if Marlon Moraes wins on Saturday, like, I still think Aljo has earned it.
5-fight win streak.
Like, I'm just saying that, you know, like, really, I would even put Marlon as, like, above TJ. There's a lot of guys I'd put above TJ at this point. Like, make him earn it, man. But,
yeah.
You know, that's just what I thought. I don't know if... I know I threw you for a loop there, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's very plausible, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
The timeline, it lines up.
Yeah. Hope there will definitely be more to come of this. I'm sure Aljo is freaking out.
Oh, he probably saw that tweet and was like, huh?
That was the most... That tweet, like, gave me shivers. I was like, whoa. Like, that sounded like a serial killer. Just like... It's not me you have to be worried about.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, is there someone behind me? Like, what?
yeah.
But obviously more to come on that. We'll move on to, so we had 255. That main event is off. Well, now Davidson's fighting Alex Perez. Our main event for 256 is also off.
Off the table.
Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. No longer going to be headlining that card. It looks like it's going to be rebooked for like February.
Yeah, I saw January, February. Kamaru just said he has some lingering injuries. He wouldn't have been ready in time.
Yeah.
But they're keeping... Burns is going to get the title shot.
Yeah, so. I think that's... And I'm glad they're doing that. There's been, you know, Ariel Helwani has been pushing for him to fight...
Leon.
I think Gilbert's earned it. He's the second time that it's going to fall through the cracks, at least for now. So, like, at this point, like, it's not his doing. I mean, the first time COVID, like, how can you help that? This time, Usman pulling out. Like, the guy hasn't done anything wrong. Don't make him re-earn the title shot.
Right.
You know? But that fight is ultimately off that card. So now you have the one title fight on there, Megan Anderson fighting Amanda Nunes.
Wonder what they're going to fill it up with.
Well,
kind of segues us, huh?
It does. I do have one news story in between
true.
But I guess
It relates, though.
Yeah, I mean...
We're tying these last two bullet points into one big one.
So, once again, the days of our lives, the young and the restless...
A lot of drama going on in the UFC.
The lightweight division is just a vicious news cycle every day. It's so hard to keep up. But... We'll start with Tony Ferguson. He did an interview with Ariel Helwani.
What an interview.
It's always like that with Tony. He just kind of went off.
Yeah. Deservingly so.
I thought we were going to get a fight announcement.
Me too.
I was thinking it was either going to be him versus Chandler or him versus Poirier, probably on 255 or 256. That did not happen. He instead just basically said...
Ranted.
He ranted.
Yeah.
So, and what this is also going to lead into is Dustin Poirier, after that fight with Tony was ultimately scrapped.
Yeah.
He kind of called a shot, in a sense, to Conor.
Hey, Conor, what are you up to?
Conor's like, charity boxing match.
Come to Ireland, baby.
And I guess...
And it looked like that was going to happen.
I never thought that was going to happen.
Essentially, the UFC sees that. They're like, no.
So then
here's
they're
a
like,
here's a
we're
fight.
going to offer you a fight.
Yeah.
Dustin accepts.
And as of today, when we're recording, Conor said he accepted.
Well, hold on. That's not necessarily true, Dom.
Yeah, it is.
No.
There's an exception to that sentence.
They offered...
Yes.
The fight that was offered was for 2021.
Yes. Conor said, nope.
Conor said it has to be in 2020. It's always something, isn't there? There's always something. So, these are like 3 points in one, but why we're grouping the Usman versus Burns being put off to these stories is because ultimately 256 is going to need some boosting. It is. Like, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson, great fight. But, like, people were talking about boosting up 255. 255 is looking like a hell of a card.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are looking at. Look, I get it. Those two title fights on paper look one-sided. You got Davison going up against Alex Perez, and then Valentina going up against Jennifer Maia. But a potential main card under that of Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno, likely number one contender for the winner of that flyweight title fight. Then you got Robbie Lawler versus Mike Perry. What a fight that is, right?
Especially if we get Darren Till in Perry's corner. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I don't know if that's...
No. We're not.
And then we also have... What was the other one I mentioned?
There's like 2 or 3 other ones. Valentina's sister's fighting. Antonina Shevchenko's
Oh, she's fighting Ariane Lipsky. I don't think that'll be on the main card because we're getting a rematch between Shogun Rua and Paul Craig.
Yeah.
That was a great fight that happened last year. I called for that in our Who's Next episode we did. So I'm glad that fight's happening. But that main card is good. Those are legends, up-and-comers.
Yes, everything.
2 title fights. Like, that card I think is good.
And the flyweights for both men's and women's deserve their spot in the limelight.
I like it.
Let them have it.
Flyweight night. But 256
6
needs a little bit more boosting.
Well, I can't think of a better way to boost a pay-per-view sale.
And I know the UFC doesn't love to put non-title or Conor fights essentially above a title fight. It's only happened twice that I can recall ever. Both cases being because what was supposed to be the main event title fight, the title holder dropped out. UFC 196 was originally Conor McGregor versus Rafael dos Anjos. He was attempting to go champ there. RDA has to drop out. In steps Nate Diaz. Under that fight was Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate for the women's bantamweight title.
Yep.
And then the next month, actually, UFC 197. Originally supposed to be the rematch between John Jones and Daniel Cormier. John Jones' big comeback. Daniel Cormier is a title holder at that point. DC has to drop out. In steps Ovince St. Preux. Underneath that, flyweight title, Demetrius Johnson against a young, spunky Henry Cejudo.
Yep.
Before pre-Triple C days. Yeah. So those are the only 2 times I can recall that ever happening. So I don't know.
3rd time's the charm, Noah.
I think right now there's only 3 fights that are announced for 256. It's Nunes versus Anderson. Then you got Carla Esparza versus Amanda Ribas.
Love that
Great fight.
Yeah.
And then Amari Akhmedov versus Marvin Vittori.
Oh, yeah, that was just recently announced.
Which, good for Marvin
fight.
to get that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a guy above him, so I like that. But, ultimately, that card does need some boost.
Well, throw Conor McGregor on there, and it's red panty night for everybody.
So, do you think that Conor Poirier happens?
Well, I liked your idea. You probably wanted to say this yourself, but
no,
I just wanted to give you credit. You pointed out, and I've even seen tweets about it. I mean, if you notice, UFC 256 is on December 12th. That leaves 2 other Saturdays in the month of December open. So I wouldn't put it past the UFC to throw on an extra pay-per-view to end out, because they usually end the year huge anyway.
Yes, they do.
I can't think of a better way to end the year than the return of Conor versus a fan favorite in Dustin. It's a rematch years in the making. So much hype would be behind that fight, and of course they'd stack it with many more great fights underneath.
This is true.
I like the idea of them doing their own pay-per-view, but at the same time, doing a 256 headliner with Amanda as the co-main, that's huge.
Yeah.
So either way, I don't want them to fight at the 255 card in November. No, I don't want that.
I don't think Conor, apparently he said he would, but considering there's 2 title fights underneath him, you might I would rather, I understand putting him above Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson, even though Amanda is the women's GOAT, but I get it. But I told you, I think that what I think's going to happen is that they're going to create UFC 257 to happen like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, you know what I wish they'd do for 256? Have Amanda headline and do Whaley Rose co-main.
Either Whaley Rose or Jan Aljo.
Yeah, that'd be sick. But I think they create their own pay-per-view for Conor and Dustin. Because it's not like they've announced, 257 is January 21. They haven't done that yet, so...
Especially with right now when you don't have to worry about you have to worry about travel for your infrastructure, your people, but ultimately it's not, you don't have to try to book an arena in advance. You're probably going to be doing it at the Apex or at Fight Island,
one of the two.
So why not just say, screw it, we're doing a pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Can't be,
they've done 2 pay-per-views in 1 month before.
They have done it before.
So.
And they've done before where they've scrapped pay-per-views. Like, I was just talking about Henry versus TJ. That was originally supposed to headline UFC 233. They scrapped that pay-per-view and just made most of those fights the first ESPN card.
Yep.
Just because it was such a big
deal.
They
wanted to go big, yeah.
And UFC 233 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Never.
So they've done that before, so why can't you do the opposite and just add another one?
Yeah, exactly.
And that card's going to sell boatloads of cash. Will it
you can just do that fight
Would it
by
likely
itself.
Hurt UFC 256? Yes, because it probably wouldn't be very stacked. But the roster is so deep.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
You can put more great fights with 256 to showcase Amanda, your women's GOAT, and still have plenty of great fights to do an additional pay-per-view.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself because they're saying like, there's only 3 fights announced. It's in December. We still have a ways.
Yeah, we have time.
Likely we won't be hearing too much more about that until
November.
Well, later in the month maybe, but
late
November.
October, early November.
But hopefully this fight does happen.
Oh.
It's looking more realistic every day, and I was not confident in it.
You know what I think would be awesome?
I think I know what you're going to say.
UFC 257.
You want me to... I'm going to guess what you're going to say.
Yes.
Headlined by Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Co-mained by Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chandler.
Yep, precisely.
That is terrific.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That answers kind of the other bullet point here of what's next for Tony.
Yep,
it's exactly. Michael Chandler.
Yep.
Welcome that man to the welcome him to the UFC.
Yep.
Either that or Dan Hooker. That's where it is. Obviously, I want to see him versus Khabib at some point, but realistically, he needs to earn it.
Yeah.
If I say that about Conor, I gotta say it about Tony. I gotta say it about everybody.
Yep.
So, go earn it. Now, if Conor beats Dustin, Tony probably
rematch.
Yeah, and you know what? It would at least feel more warranted.
Yep. Khabib even said, if you want to get to me, you have to beat Dustin. Khabib has very high regard for Dustin Poirier.
As he should.
So.
Overall, though, that's going to be huge if it happens.
In a Conor-Dustin match at 155, man.
A rematch years in the making.
It will
guys
not.
that they're at such different places in their career than the first time they fought.
Yeah.
Conor took over the world and is kind of, in a way, it's like people are questioning, has he stagnated? He looked terrific against Cowboy Cerrone, but Has he stagnated? Well, Dustin has done nothing but improve, and it's shown.
He's gotten better every fight.
So there's a lot of question, like, okay,
what's going to happen? Different weight class.
Because Conor knocked him out in about a minute and a half in the first fight.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions about this one. It's not so easy to predict.
Love it. Love that matchup.
Yeah, I do too. And I just love that these two guys seem to be kind of like...
I've told you this.
Working with
that Conor... That respectful but yet confident Conor is the Conor I enjoy. I don't need the Conor that we saw against Khabib, and because even the Conor against Nate, like that was more of just funny trash talk.
Yeah.
I don't need that personal shit. And then the Conor we saw with Cowboy, I loved, and I think we're seeing more of the same here with Dustin. So he's going to donate to $500,000 to Dustin's charity, since they can't do the charity fight now, and I think it's all awesome.
Yeah, and Dustin said that's going to go to creating a new... What was it?
Boxing/MMA gym in his hometown where him and DC grew up.
Yeah.
And you won't have to pay a membership fee. Kids will be allowed to participate at the school as long as they keep good grades.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Just awesome, yeah.
That's in Lafayette, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah, I just love everything about that.
Yep.
Hopefully to fight like UFC, it's in there. It's they're the ones that are gonna end up with the egg on their face if they don't do it at this point.
You can't let this fight flop.
Really, it's ultimately Conor's
they fumbled the bag with Dustin and Tony.
Conor and Dustin have pushed it. They both keep saying they agreed to it. If Dana comes out, this weekend and says, "Oh well, Dustin doesn't want to fight," or Conor doesn't want to fight, it's not gonna.
It's gonna be the first question asked. It's gonna be.
Yeah, and we'll be talking all about it on Monday. But for now, that is the end of the news.
Yeah, the episode's not over. Where are you going? Come back. Sit down.
We still got a card.
We got a whole card to preview here. That's just the news.
The news. But we are on to previewing #UFC Fight Island 5.
Oh yeah. We got a 6-fight main card. Don't we? Or do we have 5? Is it 5?
I have 5.
6? 5?
I have 5. Am I missing one?
I have 6, but it might be 5. One fight got scrapped late and moved to next week, but then on the UFC's app they rebooked it, so there's 6 fights on the main card.
Okay, so
I've got the first fight broken down for you. Don't worry.
Okay, so
let me pull it up and make sure.
We're gonna pull an audible here.
Let's see. We've got Marai Sandhagen, Barboza Makwan, Ben Marcin, Marcus Drickus, Tom Allen, Youssef, and Ilya.
Okay,
it's 6 fights.
Okay. On my list.
Are you panicking?
No, it's fine.
Everything's fine.
Jesus, bro. They're going to make me pronounce... This is the hardest names on the whole card. All right. We have a 6-fight main card, people.
Yeah, we do.
So we're going to open our night at featherweight. Yusuf Z.
Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah. Is going up against Ilya
Tupuria.
Then we go to heavyweight. A prospect in Tom Aspinall.
Love this guy.
Going up against the debuting Alan Baldo. Then we go to middleweight. Marcus Perez. That dude's a psycho.
Dresses up like the Joker.
Yes. Going up against another guy making his debut.
This is a sweet name.
Drickus Duplessis.
Nice.
I don't think that's... I feel like you're saying... Every time you say nice, I feel like there's someone that speaks that language listening that goes... Oh, Jesus Christ. Stupid Americans.
We're trying.
Then, our apparent 4th fight of the night.
Yes.
Big boys at heavyweight again. Ben Rothwell is back, and he's going up against another veteran of the heavyweight division, Marcin Tybura. Then our co-main event, Edson Barboza is also back. This is at featherweight again, his 2nd fight at featherweight. He's going up against Makwan Amirkhani, a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, but he's been fighting in the UFC for about 5 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Give that man his due. But we end the night.
Big one.
Main event. Huge title implications, as we said earlier. Bantamweight action. Magic Marlon Moraes.
Oh, yeah.
He's going up against the kid, Corey Sandhagen.
Love it.
So, we'll start with Yusuf Zalal and Ilya Topuria.
Men's featherweight action.
You break it down.
Yusuf is 10-2 with 2 KO TKOs, 5 submissions, 3-0 in the UFC. This will be his 4th fight of 2020, Noah. He is 3-0 in the year 2020, going for win number 4. We're seeing a lot of active fighters. We love mentioning that. And Yusuf is the next one to have his 4th fight of the year. Ilya, on the other hand, is 8-0, 1 KO, TKO, 7 submissions. Ding, ding, ding. That's 8 for 8 finishes, folks. This is his UFC debut. 7 out of his 8 finishes have come in the first round, my friend.
This guy seems for real.
Oh, yeah. He's not bad.
No.
But Yusuf's not bad. 3-0 in the UFC. What are we going to get here?
I'm going to ask you that question because this is the fight that I was not aware was on the main card.
Now listen, when a guy's undefeated, I don't care who they fought, similar to our boy Dusko from last week, they're undefeated for a reason, and I think the streak continues here. I'm going with an Ilya Tupuria. 8 of 8 finishes. UFC debut, a lot to prove. He's on the main card at Fight Island. My goodness gracious, give me another finish right here. He's going to make it 8 out of 9 via first round finish. I'm going submission.
Submission?
First round, Ilya Tupuria.
So as I'm scrambling to...
Well,
your preview actually helped.
Good.
Because...
That's my goal with this.
Yes.
You know, the nitty gritty.
Because ultimately I'm also going to go with Ilya here. But... it's tough, though, because you do have Yusuf, who is 3-0 in the UFC. It's tough. I mean, all 3 unanimous decisions as well.
Yeah.
He actually was on the card for our preview, our pilot episode.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. It's the last time he fought. But I'm also going to go... I'm actually going to go with the first round... KO TKO.
All right.
But that's don't put too much on my thoughts there. Dom definitely is carrying that one. But we'll move on to some fights I do know a little more about. Second fight, Tom Aspinall versus Alan Baldo. Dom, break it down.
Tom is 8-2, 7 KO TKOs, 1 submission. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 fights. We've got 2 fighters with 100% finish rates. He's a perfect 8 of 8 in finishes, 1-0 in the UFC. And my goodness, in his UFC debut, did he look crispy clean with that striking?
He really did.
Very good striker, very good boxer. Put the man to sleep with a right cross, or was it a left cross?
Right cross.
Right cross. Oh, man, that thing was a home run shot. All of Tom Aspinall's 8 finishes have came in the first round. On the other end of the octagon, we've got Allen, who is 8-1 with 7 KO TKOs, so that's 7 out of 8 via finish. Making his UFC debut, 5 out of his 7 finishes have also came in the first round. This card is just full of finishers, and we love that. We love that, but I can't go against Tom Aspinall. Not after what I saw in that UFC debut of his. I'm telling you, the boxing skills I saw on display in the short amount of time we got to see it, I was so impressed. And I think I was so impressed that he's going to get another first round KO in this one on Saturday night.
So, man, you are spot on with Aspinall, by the way. That
so impressive.
Dude, that stand-up, oh my gosh, the boxing was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
That was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, that really made a statement to me.
Oh, yeah.
On the other end, look, Alan Baldo, for making this is such a tough fight to debut. What a fight. Like, this is a fight to me. Like, I feel like both these guys could end up being very legit in the UFC.
Yep.
Baldo, like, that finishing rate is no joke.
Yeah.
His one loss, though, happened in 2017, 26 seconds into the first round, a knockout loss.
Interesting.
I am going to give him a little more time.
All right.
I'm going to go with you know what? I'll do a third round TKO KO.
For Tom?
For Tom Aspinall.
Third round, huh? Man.
No, I'm going to go with second.
All right.
I'm going to go with the second round. He's never been to the third round before. So.
Second round, huh? Come on.
No,
Bump it up with
first.
me. Come on.
I think you will see. I think this is my fight of the night.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I No, I'm gonna stick with
it.
You're
pulling a Dom.
I only see it going to the second, but I think this fight could be pretty nutty.
Right.
Because Baldo has shown that he will come in and bang.
Yeah.
And Aspinall was looking clean. So I think that this has the makings to be a stand-up, just beautiful chaos, as we like to say.
Right.
And ultimately, though, I think Aspinall with the crisp, probably technique, I think is going to ultimately get the upper hand, and also having a little bit more experience in the UFC. But Baldo, I believe, look out for that guy. I think he's going to show some things here.
Yeah, for sure.
That's going to at least put people like, oh, okay, that guy I want to watch out for.
Well, and we talked about it on Wednesday's episode. That heavyweight division right now just seems stale.
Yep.
You know, that top, 8 anyway does, because they've, all fought each other. So I really want these new prospects to get in there quick. So this is a really good fight.
And I don't know if I heard you say it or not, but Baldo is coming up from light heavyweight.
I didn't. Yeah,
so
this is his
that's
first,
another reason what's making me think, because he might not be used to the power and the size of someone at heavyweight. He is 32 years old. He's 6'4", though, so he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Should be very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
He's affiliated with the MMA Factory, so he's definitely got some good guys behind him. But I think this will just be a, what do we call it? It's like a, what goes up must come down at least once.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's kind of been on this rise in the minor leagues, essentially. He'll have a slight come down, but I think he'll go right back up after this. As you mentioned, in that heavyweight division, we need guys like that. So, yeah, I'm very excited for that one. I'm picking that to be fight of the night. I'll say it.
I like it.
So we move on to Marcus Perez and Dricus Du Plessis.
The Joker himself.
I'm going to let you take it away.
Middleweight action, 185 pounds. Marcus is 12-3 with 3 KO TKOs, 6 submissions. He's 2-3 in the UFC. But his losses, man. His debut was against Eric Anders, former Alabama football player. He lost to him via unanimous decision. Also lost to tough alumni Andrew Sanchez via unanimous decision. No notable wins, in my opinion, just yet. Again, just 2-3 in the UFC. I will say he beat Ian Heinisch at LFA 22 back in 2017 via submission. So not a notable win in the UFC, but pretty notable when you look back at it now, considering Ian is a top 15 at middleweight.
Yes, and also LFA is pretty much the premier minor league organization for men's up and comers.
Right.
If you play UFC 4, that's one of the options to start your career at. Yep. So that shows how the UFC value LFA.
Yeah, I got my ass kicked down there on UFC 4 a couple times. And Dricus, on the other hand, is 14-2. Ladies and gentlemen, for the third straight fight, we've got a fighter with a 100% finish rate, 5 KO TKOs, 9 submissions, another UFC debut, 3 fights in a row. I'm telling you, these are the best fight nights.
Don't sleep.
These are the best fight nights.
This man's got a 100% finish rate, win or lose.
Yeah, man.
That man going to sleep when he loses.
He's a savage, bro. This is my fight of the night right here. I think we're going to see beautiful chaos.
I like it.
But I'm going with the UFC debut. I'm going Dricus. Dricus Du Plessis. Right here. UFC debut, making a statement against Marcus Perez. Fan-friendly guy. Got a lot of people love watching him at the weigh-ins when the fans would be there. He'd paint his face and do all the crazy stuff. The Joker video is actually terrifying. He literally looks like dead ass the Joker.
Yeah, he does.
I'm going Dricus here. I think we're getting a war, but I think we're seeing a finish in the third round via KO TKO.
I'm so close to picking the same thing as you.
Hey, you're allowed to, man.
Now, okay, Marcus Perez, I worry. He is definitely at a bit of a crossroads here. Sure, he does have, he has some. There's like a hint of following,
Pizzazz,
a hint of following to him. Just for the antics, kind of at the weigh-ins and whatnot. And he, to his credit, he puts on a good show as well.
Yeah.
But 2-3 in the UFC, not necessarily going to cut it. I still think he's going to go 2-4 as well. I think Dricus is I think this guy's going to be. Watch out for him.
Yeah. Precisely.
I think he continues at 100%. finishing rate.
I'm
also going third round.
Come on.
Via submission.
You've done that twice now.
This man has submitted everybody.
Yeah.
Or knocked him out because 100%.
Exactly.
But it's a tough matchup. Drick is 26. Dude is chiseled.
Little mishap.
We just got
on the set.
That just terrified me. Your door's open because of that.
I'll get it.
Okay. So Drickus is 26. He's chiseled. The dude looks fucking terrifying. Marcus Perez is going to be the smaller guy in this fight. I think it's going to be. I think actually you could be right about that fight tonight. I might have been a little bit too, trigger happy.
Right.
On the previous matchup, but I'll stick with it. Drickus still knocks Duplessis. I think third round submission. I think it's going to be a great fight, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll even say this, though. I say it won't be fight tonight because I think it might be too one-sided.
Really? You think?
I think Perez will have his moments.
You think
but
Drickus
Drickus makes a big statement.
Gives us a show.
I think he breaks down Perez over those 3 rounds and ultimately finishes him.
I like it.
So that's why I won't say it'll be fight of the night.
Fair enough.
Another heavyweight fight.
The big boys.
These are 2 guys that are, people know these guys.
Yeah, these
guys have had, Ben Rothwell, a longtime vet. Marcin Tybura, maybe a little less known, but this guy has main evented fight nights before.
Yeah, a veteran of the heavyweight division. Both of these guys. Ben is 38-12.
Yes, he is.
That's 50 fights. 50. He has 28 KO TKO, 6 submissions. That's 34 out of 38 wins via finish. He's 8-6 in the UFC. Notable wins coming against Brendan Schaub via KO. Brandon Vera, who we mentioned is at one championship now, beat him by TKO. Also TKO'd our boy Alistair Overeem. That's a very big win. He submitted Matt Mitrione. He submitted Josh Barnett. He TKO'd the skyscraper Stefan Struve, and then most recently he welcomed Ovent St. Preux to the heavyweight division and sent him right back down to the light heavyweight division with a split decision victory there. And he has some notable losses. He lost to Cain Velasquez back in the day during Cain's rise to stardom.
That was a beatdown.
Yes, that was a TKO for Cain. He then lost to Mark Hunt via unanimous decision. Lost to Gabriel Gonzaga via submission, which is odd because Gabriel Gonzaga is just a powerhouse.
Yeah, he is.
He lost to JDS via unanimous decision. Bloigi Ivanov via unanimous decision. And his most recent loss was to Andrei Arlovsky, also via unanimous decision.
My best friend.
Your best friend. Mm-hmm. And on the other end of the octagon, we got Marcin Tybura, who is 19-6. 7 KO TKO, 6 submissions. He's 6-5 in the UFC. Notable wins against Andrei Arlovsky, because Andrei Arlovsky has literally fought every single damn person on the UFC heavyweight roster.
Arlovsky was robbed.
He has also beaten Stefan Struve via unanimous decision, and Sergey Spivak, who I had to mention.
Sergey Spivak.
Oh, sorry. The polar bear, right?
The polar bear.
Via unanimous decision. And some notable losses to Fabricio Verdum via unanimous decision. The Black Beast himself, Derek Lewis, via KO. Shamil Abdurakhimov.
It's pronounced Shamil Abdurahimov.
That's why you're here.
Thank you.
Via TKO. If you don't know him, by the way, that's number 9 rank in the heavyweight division. Kind of a big deal. And Augusto Sakai via KO. We're going to see a heavyweight barn burner here. But I think Big Ben gets the job done again. Via decision.
I'm agreeing with you.
That last fight with OSP was a drag.
Really? Remember I said I really liked it.
Yeah, I guess it was
more so... Look, OSP gassed.
Yeah, I think that's what made it
But I feel like... What's weird is I feel like OSP gassing made the fight more even. Like, I feel like if OSP had the cardio, I think he would have taken that fight.
Well, and OSP gassing it kind of just left him to just throw 1 or 2 big shots and then take some
But
breaks.
they were landing.
Exactly.
I mean, look, and Rothwell was landing right back. It was. I actually really liked that fight. I think you need to go rewatch it.
All right, I will.
But I'm going to actually agree with your pick again.
Yeah.
Rothwell by decision.
Yeah.
I think Rothwell has he has definitely shown some more grinded style.
Yeah, he has, for sure.
Especially that last fight with OSP. Now, OSP being a very accomplished striker, it makes sense. Tibura also kind of has that grinded out style.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of clinching in this fight.
Yes.
Rothwell's going to be a little bit bigger, I believe. And I think he's going to be a little bit more powerful to the point where he can get the upper hand in his clinch, like in the clinch work and whatnot. I don't think it's going to be a particularly exciting fight, if I'm being honest. But it'll be a big win for Rothwell to kind of reestablish himself in that division if the OSP win didn't do it already. And for Tibura, he ain't going to lose too much from this. He's already kind of a 500 fighter. Yeah. This is just another loss for him, and he'll go on to the next one, I would say. But I'm going to stick with Rothwell. By all means, Tibura tends to lose by getting knocked out. 4 of his 6 losses by knockout. So, in a way, it's like, okay, well, maybe he'll...
Right.
But the finish rate of Rothwell shocked me when you said that. I did not know that.
34 out of 30? 38?
I would not have guessed that at all. So that definitely had me going, is he really going to go to 2 decisions in a row? But you don't do MMA math. It never works out that
It's
way.
Just the styles of these guys.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Both can go to sleep. It's a heavyweight
I think
division,
it's definitely going to be a grinded out fight. Probably going to be my pick for what would be probably the least exciting fight of the night.
Yeah.
But still a big fight nonetheless.
And you never know what can happen. Yeah. That's the beauty.
Of course. Watch, this will end up being in our top 10 fights of all time someday, and then I'm going to have to eat those words.
Yeah, we do that quite often on the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast.
We're below average.
Yes.
Now, co-main event.
This is a fun one.
Edson Barboza versus
Real fun.
Makwan Amirkhani.
Yes. I do wish Edson stayed at lightweight, but I digress. Edson Barboza is 20-9 with 12 KO TKOs, 1 submission, and the most vicious damn kicks you'll ever see in your life. He's 14-9 in the UFC. 23 of his 29 fights have been in the UFC. A true veteran for the company. Notable wins against Ross Pearson via split decision, King Bobby Green via unanimous decision, beat Paul Felder via unanimous decision, beat Anthony Pettis by unanimous decision, Gilbert Melendez, unanimous decision, Beneil Dariush with a very impressive KO there, and then the brutalization of Dan Hooker's body in his most recent KO finish. Hurt me watching.
Yeah.
Shout out Dan Hooker, the toughest that there is.
That was a smash.
Mm-hmm.
Edson smash.
Yeah, it was, and he's about to get smashed in the notable losses too, because he's got losses to Cowboy Cerrone via submission, Michael Johnson via unanimous decision, Tony Ferguson submitted him with a freaking Brock's choke or Broke's choke. I don't know, some weird choke. Only Tony Ferguson will do.
It's a Darce choke.
Oh, I thought it was called something else. And Sherdog. Habib smash very badly. And then Kevin Lee with a vicious TKO. Justin Gaethje one-punch KO'd him. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was bad. Paul Felder gets his revenge against Edson with a split decision. And then most recently makes his move to featherweight and loses to Dan Ige via split decision in a fight that I think we both agree we thought Edson won.
Yeah.
On the other end, we've got Makwan, who is 16-4, 1 KO TKO, 11 submissions, so 12 out of 16 via finish. He's 6-2 in the UFC. The problem is the notable section here for our guy is not very big. Notable wins, in my opinion, just against Jason Knight, and that was via split decision. In terms of losses, both of his losses have been to very notable guys. Arnold Allen via split decision, and then Shane Burgos got a TKO victory over Makwan.
Those are two tough losses right there.
Yep.
Now, this fight I think is the most. I think it's the easiest to predict how it's going to go. And here's why. If the fight stays on the feet, Edson Barboza is winning this fight.
Yes.
If it goes to the ground, Amir Khan is winning this fight.
Yes.
What am I more confident in at this point? I think Barboza is winning this fight.
I think he has a lot to prove.
Look, you look at Barboza's record, you're going to see a lot of red.
Yeah, recently especially.
Recently, that's what I mean. He's 20-9, no slouch of a record. But he's lost 5 of his last 6. So you go, ooh, that's a guy that might need to hang him up, right? Well, the Khabib loss, that's the first one on this. My gosh.
That was a fight where I genuinely felt bad for Edson. It was hard to watch.
I really thought Edson would give Khabib trouble. But instead, it was one of the most one-sided fights I've ever seen.
Yeah. Khabib looked.
That speaks to Khabib's greatness.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So he comes back and main events a fight night with Kevin Lee. Again, Kevin Lee, probably the best performance of his career. However, Barboza did have his moments in that fight. He
landed that kick.
That kick that had Kevin Lee doing the stanky legs.
Oh, yeah, it did. He was all wobbled.
But ultimately a TKO via doctor stoppage in the 5th round, that one. Then he gets the huge win over Dan Hooker.
Great fight.
But he's main eventing on ESPN against Gaethje. That's a fight everybody's excited for. They're like, wow, this striking, like these guys are going to go to war. Gaethje turned the lights off on that.
This is in the middle of Gaethje's absolute tear of the lightweight division.
So right there, like those are a couple of tough losses for him. 3 of his last 4. Like right there, I would have been like, okay, maybe Barboza's on a slide. Like he's starting to go down. But that Paul Felder fight, you could argue he won that one, I think. Split decision loss there. And Dan Ige, I thought he looked damn good.
I remember even texting or Snapchatting you that night, both agreeing that Edson had won that fight.
Yeah, and I think those 2 fights speak to how good he still is. Those are 2 guys that are in the top, I believe Ige's borderline top 10. Paul Felder is. Now, Paul Felder at lightweight, Ige at featherweight.
It's tough when you're on a 2-fight skid and both are via split decision, meaning a judge had you winning in both fights, man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's very tough. There's got to be some psychological stuff there, like what's he got to do to get over the hump. Ultimately, though, Amir Khan, look, he did get TKO'd by Burgos, but besides that, he's been submitted once early on in his career, but it's been, a couple of decision losses. Hasn't lost a lot. He's 16-4. I actually think this fight might go all 3 rounds. I think Barboza has to be
aggressive.
Actually, I'm not.
You think the opposite?
I think he might be tentative because I think he has to try to keep Amir Khan at distance.
That's very true.
There's going to be a worry of, like, if this fight gets to the ground, like, he's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're going to see Barboza trying to keep a distance, Amir Khan trying to break that distance, but he's not going to quite have the striking pedigree to really do it effectively. So Barboza, I think, ends up getting a big decision win for him. I don't think this is going to be as exciting as maybe some people would think, considering how Barboza's style is, and even Amir Khan, they both usually bring it pretty well. By no means a bad fight. I think it'll be very technical, and that we love those kind of fights.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Barboza via unanimous decision.
Love Edson. But I think that Amir Khan wants that big win. He wants to get over that hump. Again, he's 6-2 in the UFC. And this is the name. This is the name you want on your resume, especially if you're in his position. So I'm going to go with an Amir Khan victory. I think he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground. I think he's going to be able to close that distance. We've seen weaknesses from Barboza when the fights get to the ground. And ultimately, I think we're going to see a finish via submission for Makwan Amirkhani in the 2nd round.
Hey, that could very well happen, man. Amir Khan seems like a guy who this could be his, like, breakout moment.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for it. He's had 2 shots before it for guys that were, up-and-comers with Shane, and then you had Arnold Allen.
Yep.
Wasn't quite able to do it there. Arnold Allen was a split decision loss.
Yeah.
Some judge gave it to him.
And now you're co-maining a fight on Fight Island against the guy in Edson Barboza. Well, everybody loves watching
You have to ask. There's got to be a lot of questions about Barboza at this point. Yep. Look, I get it. He's looked good in some of these losses, but they're still losses.
Yep.
So, it could really go either way. I think it's kind of a 50-50 fight. Again, it depends on where the fight goes. Can Amir Khan get it to the ground and do his submission work?
Yep.
Because Barboza is not as well versed on the ground. It's always going to be the thing with him. But Barboza does have a great striking pedigree.
Yep, kicks especially.
Yeah, that Amir Khan, I think, is going to have a tough time with. Now, what's funny, you mentioned the legs. I'm glad you did because I forgot to mention that in my breakdown of this. I don't know if you're going to see as many leg kicks.
He's not going to want to get taken down.
For a striker, the worst thing or the most risky thing you can do against a grappler is throw leg kicks.
Yeah.
Because a grappler just has to catch one, and then you're off balance.
Yep.
And they have control over your body basically, and they can try to take you down.
Exactly.
So I don't think you're going to see a ton of leg kicks from Barboza. You will see them, but I think they're going to be
not as prominently as typical.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong. I think a lot of it depends on what kind of Amir Khan we get. This is a big fight for him. Is he going to be a little bit of like a deer in the headlights, and Barboza going to piece him up like he did to Dan Hooker, kind of? Right. Could happen. But I like this fight, though. I'm very interested to see what happens there. It's a big fight for both guys' careers.
Right.
They're really both at kind of a crossroads.
And it's opposite, Omari Khan's trying to prove himself. Edson's trying to just say he still belongs.
Because for Barboza, I get it. He's 34, and he's got these 5 of his last 6. However,
he's taken some damage.
He's in a new division.
Yeah.
Conceivably, if he gets on the right win streak, I think if he wins this fight, he could still have some sort of hope, title aspiration hope.
Name value goes a long way.
At featherweight. He's a big guy at featherweight.
Yeah.
I think that there's something left for him. However, if he loses this fight, I think that's all done.
Yeah.
Amir Khan, this is, in my opinion, his last chance to make a name for himself. 2 chances before, wasn't able to do it. At least 2 chances in well-known guys at this point. This is your most well-known guy. Are you gonna reach for the brass ring and take it, or are you not gonna be able to do it again? And ultimately, you're just gonna kind of be in this no man's land for however much longer you keep fighting.
Couldn't have said it any better.
But with that, we are moving on to the main event of the evening.
Back to back. We got women's bantamweight last week. Now we got men's bantamweight this week. Oh, man, this is a good fight.
Bantamweight action. Marlon Moraes, Corey Sandhagen. Just take it.
Marlon Moraes is 23-6-1 with 10 KO TKOs, 6 submissions. He's 5-2 in the UFC, and he has fought them all. Notable wins against John Dodson via split decision, Aljamain Sterling via an absolutely brutal knee to the jaw that had Aljo planking on the canvas. Then he KO head kicks Jimmy Rivera. Then he submits Rafael Assunção. My goodness gracious. And by the way, that was a win that he got revenge on, because one of his notable losses in his UFC debut was to Rafael Assunção, which was via split decision. And then, of course, went up against Henry Cejudo for, at the time, was the vacant bantamweight championship. Yep. And Henry TKO'd him after being dominated in the first round. Marlon looked incredible.
The leg kicks were effective.
And then Marlon gassed very, very quickly, and Henry dominated in the second round.
I think Henry made very good adjustments.
Yes, he did.
And I think Moraes was definitely slowing down big time, but he was throwing a lot of power into those leg kicks, and I just think once Henry adjusted, I just don't think that he didn't allow Marlon to take a breath.
Triple C for a reason.
He's one of the best, man.
Corey Sandhagen, on the other hand, is 12-2 with 4 KO TKOs, 3 submissions, 5-1 in the UFC. Notable wins against John Lineker via split decision, and he has also defeated Rafael Assunção via unanimous decision. His lone loss in the UFC was against Aljamain Sterling just recently via submission in a fight that really Corey didn't even have a chance to do anything because Aljo looked that good. This is a tough one. This is a tough fight, Noah. A lot to prove for both of these guys. Marlon's coming off of that win over Jose Aldo.
In quotes, like,
which,
win.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most convincing win.
Yeah.
We'll put it at
Notice
that.
I didn't put it on his notable wins for a reason.
I didn't notice that. But yeah, good call.
Because we both agree Aldo won that fight. Right? Don't you think that or no? Did you think Marlon? I don't remember.
I think I need to watch it again.
Sure.
I was watching it. There was a lot going on, so I wasn't paying as close attention as I would like to score it.
Mm.
I just remember being like, oh, okay, Marlon won. I was like, that's tough for Jose. But I was like, Jose looked good, though.
Yeah.
And then I got online, and everybody's like, robbery!
Boo this man!
Yeah, boo. And I was like, oh, shit. So I'd have to go back and watch it again. However, I understand, though, that it's not the most convincing win when you're trying to reestablish yourself as the guy to fight for the belt.
Right.
So, Corey Sandhagen, however, he's got a tough road back, man. I mean, that loss to Sterling, I don't say a tough road back. It's just, that loss to Sterling was tough. He really just didn't have a chance to show anything. Now, in this division, though, it can be done. I mean, Sterling is an example of that. He was knocked out very quickly by Marlon Moraes.
That was his last loss, if I'm not
mistaken. And then he went on a 5-fight win streak, and now he's
knocking on the door.
He's knocking on the door at least. He should be right in there.
The door's locked.
Yeah. What this really comes down to is, in my opinion, can Corey Sandhagen avoid the power of Marlon Moraes?
Right.
Because Sandhagen is tall for that division. He's 5'11". But Marlon Moraes is definitely the thicker guy. He's 5'6", so he's more stout. Sandhagen does have a 4-inch reach advantage, 71 to 67 inches. Not as much as you would think with the height difference, but
This is hard.
This is hard. I know where I'm leaning.
I don't even know where I'm leaning. So you're gonna have to go first.
It's more by the method that because
I'd like to say that the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Sandhagen. Even though this is his first main event.
This is true.
But we saw what Marlon, like I said, he gassed in one round. Granted, Henry looked great, right? He made the adjustments like you said, but he gassed. He had nothing left. And that was after one round. That's worrisome. Now, can he fix that? Can he adjust his cardio? Yes, that's been a little while ago. He's had a fight since then. He went 3 rounds with Aldo.
See, I don't know if it was after one round. I mean, that second round is when Henry turned it around, but it was the third round, at the end of the third round is when that fight got finished. So, again, that doesn't... that's really, like, picking and choosing there. Like, ultimately, he still did gas, so it's not blasphemous to say that. This is a 5-round fight, if it goes all the way.
That's where I'm struggling.
Will it go all the way?
I feel like if Sandhagen were to win, it will, but at the same time, we've never seen him go 5 rounds, and he has the skills to finish the fight. But at the same time, it's like, can Marlon really get finished by Corey Sandhagen? But then again, he got knocked out by a flyweight and all this and that.
Marlon Moraes by second round TKO KO. I think it's going to be one of those, a lot of feeling out. And I think it's just going to be one of those, like, out of nowhere knockout that's like, wow. Like, it just comes out of nowhere.
He has that effect.
He does that. And I think for Sandhagen, it's going to be another just tough loss. But I don't think he's going to look bad. I just think that it's just going to come out of nowhere, essentially. I don't think you're going to see either guy get much of an upper hand for the round and a half or whatever that I'm predicting it to go. I just think that Moraes' power is eventually going to strike, and I don't know if Sandhagen can take it.
I badly want to pick Sandhagen here, but I'm really struggling with how he can get the job done. Therefore, I'm also going with Magic Marlon Moraes. I think he's getting in there, proving how good he is, and he's getting the shit done in the first round. KO TKO. There. Performance of the night bonus for Marlon Moraes coming Saturday.
We had almost every fight the same there.
Almost.
You picked Amir Khani.
And here I am again. Out of 6 fights, I'm pretty sure I just predicted... Or no, I predicted 4 finishes. So that's That's still a lot of finishes.
I think I did too. I had the main event as a finish, and then I had, I believe, Perez, Drickett. Yeah, I had 4.
Well, and Rothwell.
I didn't. No,
or that was a finish.
Yeah, I said decision.
Or decision. So.
But that is hashtag UFC Fight Island 5.
Tune in.
I do want to talk. Actually, I just want to give a shout out to on the prelims. Dana White Tuesday Night Contender vet Impa Kazagane.
Yes.
That guy made a big statement in his debut.
If you can tune in to the prelims, that man has a lot of hype behind him. Very good, very well composed, very well spoken.
Yeah.
Built like a brick shit house.
Yeah, he is.
He's a beast. That's an exciting fight. I'm glad you mentioned that.
I just saw him on there. I was like, I gotta at least give him a shout out.
We love the Contender series.
And I mentioned this guy on our very first episode. Ali Al-Kazi is fighting again. This is the very first fighter from Jordan. Just throwing it out there again, just because it speaks to...
It's that global, worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there again, that he will be fighting as well. So check out all these fights. It's on ESPN Plus this Saturday. Be sure to let us know your thoughts.
Yep.
But as for the rest of the week, or as for next week...
Yeah, right.
Monday we'll be recapping these fights, obviously. We'll talk all in depth about the main card and predict kind of what's next for some of these guys at the top. Wednesday, this episode's going to be a little extra special.
Just a little bit.
This is going to be our first review.
Yeah.
And it's of the documentary that just got released on Fight Pass.
Yes.
Called UFC Fight Island, Declassified.
Fantastic.
Basically, it's kind of a mini-series. It's a 4-part series. Dom has already watched it.
Yeah, if you don't have Fight Pass, it is also available on ESPN Plus. That's how I was able to watch it. Fantastic documentary. We never got the chance to discuss our thoughts on Fight Island because we started the podcast after the debut of it. So not only do we get to review this documentary, but we get to kind of give our thoughts there as well.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to dive deep into that.
That'll be a different type of special episode.
Be interesting to see kind of how long we go on that one.
Right.
But that'll be Wednesday. And Dom, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DSalee14. You can find the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast on Instagram at BelowAverageJoes_podcast. Again, we hope you all enjoyed this kind of new rebranding, I guess we like to say. Again, it just allows us to pursue our passions more, reach out, branch out, learn more, discuss more with you all. It opens a lot more doors for content in terms of ideas for episodes, so on and so forth. So we're really excited for this next step, and thanks for following us along on this journey.
Agreed. As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, where you can find links to every major platform that we are on, both social and podcast. So Spotify, Apple, Google, Anchor, YouTube, Instagram, and even a link if you want to become a contributor to the podcast. Any money that comes from that is just going to be put back into the podcast. So if once we hopefully one day decide to branch out and do some video podcast on YouTube, that kind of money will go towards that and just boosting the equipment that we're using here. It's a very small operation right now. Right. Anything to help would be greatly appreciated, or you can just keep listening, as I wouldn't expect anybody to do anything more.
Exactly.
But again, you can find that on my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_. But with that, we're out, and we're going to see y'all on Monday.
Have a great weekend.